Human Centipede 2, the one movie that used banned in the UK as a marketing tactic. I reviewed the first one, and you guys killed it, so here we go, part 2. You know what, if this one gets 5,000 views, I'll even do a part 3. Alright, let's get into it. Human Centipede 2 starts off by showing us the end of the first movie. When the credits roll, we see a man is watching the film. So this means the movie isn't really a sequel, but more of a what if type movie. The movie's main question would be, what if a crazy person was inspired to replicate what he saw in the first Human Centipede movie? So it's about someone inspired by the first movie, so it's not a sequel really in any way. So the man watching the film is our main character, Martin Lomax, played by Lawrence R. Harvey. He's actually watching the movie on the job since he's at work. Maybe I should start watching movies on the job too. I wonder how my boss would feel about that. Martin is a parking garage security camera watcher. In other words, a PGSCW. I wish this movie was PG. Martin notices two individuals walking through the garage on a security camera screen and decides they would be fit. So he grabs his crowbar and confronts them. These two individuals are Ian, played by Lucas Hansen, and his girlfriend Kim, played by Emma Locke. While Ian is being mean to Martin, out of nowhere Martin shoots him in the foot. He then points the gun to Kim and shoots her in the leg. Then, Martin takes his crowbar and clocks Ian in the head pretty hard to the point where blood starts spewing out. He does the same to Kim, and when they're both knocked out, he loads them up into his vehicle. After this, he goes back into his office and rewinds the Human Centipede movie. He also pulls out this big journal book where he has all the plans drawn out. Lots of photos from the first movie are taped in, along with photos of Ashlyn Yenny, the back part of the centipede in the first movie. He then notices another person on his security cameras. This guy's name is Alan, played by Peter Blankenstein. He is complaining that the ATM is out of cash. We never see Martin take out Alan on screen, but it's inferred. After Martin's shift ends, he drives to this big warehouse that's up for sale. Every villain needs a secret lair. Darth Vader has his secret castle on Mustafar, Howard Howe and Tusk has that underground SeaWorld, and what does Martin have for his secret lair? A shitty warehouse. Quite literally. Martin meets up with the leaser, Jake, played by Peter Charlton, who is telling him that many people are waiting on looking at the place and that some even offered to bring cash and pay on the spot. When it gets time to sign the lease, Martin doesn't actually have the money, so he just kills them off. Martin loads up all his victims he has so far into the warehouse, and we can see them all screaming as they wake up. In the next few scenes, we're introduced to Martin's mother, Mrs. Lomax, played by Vivian Britson. Martin lives at his mother's house, and you can tell she hates him. She even calls him a swine and blames him for his father's arrest. Martin hides his Human Centipede journal under his bed to keep it hidden from his mother. Also, his only friend he seems to have is his pet centipede he keeps in his room. His mother goes in his room while he's napping and tells him his doctor is here. Dr. Sabring, played by Bill Hutchins. Martin goes to the living room to meet up with his doctor and mother. During this, Martin's doctor inappropriately touches him while his mother scolds him and blames him for his father's arrest. This session is terrible. 1 out of 5 rating. She explains how much she misses him and how it's all Martin's fault. Martin's mother expresses her concern to Sabring that Martin's been talking about a centipede that contains 12 people. She doesn't know what it means. The doctor says a centipede may be Martin's way of coping with the abuse he dealt with as a kid. He also tells her not to worry because it's probably just a passing phase. A passing phase. You think all this stuff Martin's doing is just a passing phase? Can't you tell by how he acts that he may not be the most normal person out there? What makes you think this is all just a passing phase? That would be like in Halloween if Dr. Loomis told the Myers family, "Oh, Michael's just in a passing phase." After the doctor leaves, Martin and his mother eat supper. The person that lives above them in this apartment complex enjoys blaring loud music. This drives Martin's mother insane, and she grabs a broomstick and jabs the ceiling to send a message to the neighbor that he's being too loud. Moments later, their neighbor, Dick, played by Lee Nicholas Harris, comes barging in and beats Martin to the ground. We're back at work. Martin is watching the Human Centipede again, but focusing on the scene where Dr. Hyder shows his plans. He is redrawing the sketches for himself, trying to memorize Hyder's plans. Martin looks over at the security screen and notices a nice family. The father, Tim, played by Daniel Jude Jenis, and his pregnant wife, Rachel, played by Catherine Templar, with their young child. Martin loads up his gun. The family gets into their car, and when they turn the corner, Martin is waiting and shoots Tim. He then sees Tim fall out of his vehicle and crowbars him right in the head. Martin then takes his child and holds it as if it's his father. Martin notices Rachel crawling away, and he crowbars her too. After Martin loads his victims up, he goes back into his office where he masturbates to the first Human Centipede movie with sandpaper. During this, two drunk girls, Carrie, played by Candace Cain, and Valerie, played by Georgia Goodrick, walk by. Valerie peeks in the window and notices Martin masturbating and tells her friend. Then it cuts to the warehouse where we see they were captured. Now back to the house. Back at home, Martin's mother notices his Human Centipede journal and rips it up in front of him. This causes Martin to cry and go to his pet centipede. Then, as his mother runs toward him, he forces her face in the centipede cage where it bites her. Then, he uses his crowbar to smash her face in. Martin takes her body and sets it up at the dinner table in the chair across from him as if she's alive. We also get to see the aftermath of the face getting bashed in, and it's pretty graphic. Also, I don't know how Martin manages to eat normally in front of his faceless mother. I guess some people just aren't that normal. While Martin is eating dinner, he hears his neighbor, Dick, blaring loud music again. So similar to what his mother did, he grabs the broom, hits the ceiling, but this time Martin was prepared. When Dick comes barging in, he notices Martin's faceless mother. Then, Martin behind him shoots him in the leg. Then, you can guess, he knocks him out with the crowbar. Moral of the story, in GTA 5, never underestimate the pistol, and especially the crowbar. I think it's actually a lead pipe, but you get my point. Next, Martin loads up his suitcase with all sorts of tools and knives. It cuts to when Martin is back at work, but on the security screen he notices his doctor, a cab driver named Paul, played by Dominic Borelli, and a prostitute named Candy, played by Maddie Black. Using the gun crowbar technique, he kills his doctor but takes the driver and the prostitute hostage. When he was chasing the prostitute down, she sprayed him with pepper spray, but she was knocked out off screen. Now, for the 12th person in his centipede, he decided to go original because he picked up Ashlyn Yenny, who played Jenny in the first movie. In this movie, she plays herself. Martin tricked her because she thinks she's going to an audition for a Quentin Tarantino film, but will soon realize that is not the case. When they walk inside, Martin crowbars Ashlyn in the head. Now to the operation. Well, at least his attempt at an operation. Sorry, Martin, but you'll never be as good as Dr. Hyder. We also see Martin brought his centipede pet for friendship support. Martin then goes around one by one and knocks all 12 people out with his crowbar. He then takes out the knee ligaments so they can't walk and starts pounding out the teeth of Alan. Then he turns him around and tries cutting his buttocks open, but since he's not a trained professional, Alan bleeds to death. Also in this process, Rachel, the pregnant woman, seems to be dead. He decides to scrap the idea of using surgeon tools and instead just uses a staple gun and some duct tape. Duct tape always solves the problems, doesn't it? Once the centipede wakes up, Martin tries to feed Ashlyn, the front person, but she refuses. He then tries to funnel the food into Ashlyn, but that also fails. As punishment, he uses pliers to rip Ashlyn's tongue out of her mouth. Since neither worked, he just gives everyone a shot of some strong laxatives, and that does the trick. And oh, it's awful. Like it actually shows the poop falling from their mouths, and it's colored. The only colored thing in the movie is poop. And it's disgusting. You see it fly all over. Ugh. I thought the first one was bad. Man, this one's even worse. Also, it shows the poop getting on the camera. Next, something happens that's so bad I can't believe it was in the movie. What happens is Martin gets his privates out, wraps it around in barbed wire, and then rapes the girl in the back of the human centipede. Yes, that's how bad it is. And trust me, the scene isn't a quick 30 seconds. You may be like, quick 30... No, it's like 3 or 4 minutes straight of him just raping the girl in the back with his dick covered in barbed wire. Yes, it's terrible. It's horrendous. Oh, man. Woo! It's terrible. I won't even show you guys a clip. If you're really curious, just watch the movie yourself. But like, what the actual fuck? It's fucked. It's so bad. I'm just going to leave it there. Next, we finally get some good news and see that Rachel, the pregnant lady, is still alive and she makes a run for it. While she is running, she is in the final stage before giving birth, so blood is spewing from her vagina as she runs. Her water is breaking. She also gets in the car and locks herself in. Luckily for her, the keys were left in the car. As Martin is pounding on the window, she gives birth to her child. Unfortunately, the baby falls out of the vagina and rolls under the pedal. Then she turns the car on and gasses the pedal. You can make the conclusion. Baby falls under the pedal. She gasses the pedal. Yup. The baby gets squashed and it shows it. While Martin is still outside, Dick breaks from his person, separating the centipede into two while spewing out shit in the process. Oh, too much, man. Too much. But also, Martin, you should have used Gorilla Glue if you wanted them to stay together. I mean, honestly. When Martin comes back in and sees what has happened, he gets furious and starts shooting everyone. When he runs out of bullets, he uses a knife and cuts the rest of their throats until he gets to Ashlyn. Then he pauses in front of her. Next, Ashlyn hits Martin with a good old nut tap, causing him to fall in pain. While he does this, she yanks his undies down and shanks him with the funnel. And up goes the centipede through wit's end. After Martin squirms in pain, he gets up and stabs Ashlyn right in the neck, killing her. Then it cuts to Martin back in the parking garage office at work. It seems he has just finished watching the first Human Centipede movie for the 100th time. Also, we hear Rachel's kid crying in the car. The end. Now to my review. The Human Centipede 2 is directed by Tom Six, the same guy that created the first one. The Human Centipede 2 takes a much different angle than the Human Centipede 1. Unlike what the title makes it seem to be, it's not actually a sequel, but more of a what-if scenario about the first movie. The movie is in black and white, and all shots are handheld. Also, Martin never says a word throughout the whole movie, which I did actually think added quite a bit to his character. And similar to the first movie, the main villain gives an incredible performance. I thought Theodore Laser did a great job in the first movie at playing like a creepy surgeon, medical doctor type guy. And I think Lawrence R. Harvey does a great job at Martin and how creepy he is and messed up he is. But trust me, I'm not saying I like the movie, but I will give credit to the actor because I thought he did a really good job. But now let's get to really everything else. Similar to the first movie, this movie struggles with keeping you engaged. The one scene I did like in the movie was when he kills his mother and then gets his neighbor in the house and knocks out his neighbor, Dick. I did like that scene. It reminded me of Joker. I'm not gonna lie, it did remind me of Joker. But besides that scene, I really didn't like any of the movie, unfortunately. Also, the movie does suffer too with having any likable characters. We don't care about any of the victims, even like the innocent family, we just don't know who they are, so there's no reason for us to care about them. So unfortunately for me, this movie was definitely not for me because I care about character development, and that is lacking in this movie very bad. I mean, it nearly doesn't feel like a movie because the whole plot is, it's about Martin, a crazy guy at work, and he knocks people out in the parking garage and collects them, and then he creates a human centipede, but it fails, he kills them all, and then he's back at work. So it's like a full circle, there's no payoff, there's no anything. It's very frustrating. It's a very long movie, it stretches that small idea into an hour and a half, and it's just very unengaging. That's what I have to say. But man, the gore in this movie is just too much, especially the scene where he rapes a girl with the barbed wire covering his private parts. That scene was just too much for me, man. I wasn't a fan of it, and I just thought it was unnecessary. It was just there for shock value, and it was like a 3 to 4 minute scene straight, and it just got so long, and it was just so unnecessary. It's bad, it's sick, and it's just, I don't want to talk about it anymore, to be honest with you. Man. But yeah, guys, from the point where he creates the centipede to the end, it's really just a gore fest. Nothing happens, and it's really disappointing, to be honest. But I mean, I didn't really expect much coming into it either. This movie was terrible, borderline plotless, and insulting to the viewer. I'm going to give Human Centipede 2 full sequence a 19%. Alright guys, that's all for this video. I really hope you guys like this video, and yeah, if this gets 5,000 views, I will do the third one, and it may not be immediately, but once it gets to 5,000 views, I'll add it to my list of movies and queue it up and eventually get to it. And yeah guys, hit that like button if you like what I do and who I am. Keeps me motivated, and comment down any suggestions. I've got a lot of good suggestions, and I have many planned in the future, so you know, look forward to some of those. Subscribe if you're not, join the family. I'm glad we're growing really quickly, and I just look forward to the future and what's provided for us. Filmmaking is a strong passion of mine, and this YouTube channel, I get to talk about filming, but I really do want to have some of the money to make my own movie. But yeah guys, thank you so much, and that's all I got for you guys today. I will see you in the next one. Peace.